And the fear is, folks, that AI is going to replace the appraiser, that we're going to trust too much in the machine and not enough in the human element. That, I mean, fill in the blank. All of these fears, I think, are normal.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
So the title of this podcast was not written by me. In fact, I took it word for word from a comment made on a recent social media post that I put out promoting a workshop that I was doing for appraisers. The quote, in its entirety, it's disgusting and shameful to promote and encourage the use of AI in appraising. I'm not going to use the individual's full name. I don't know why. I mean, he put it out there. That's fine. It's out there to find. But I will use his first name. Marshall was his name. Marshall, as you know, I reached out and my response was a simple, let's talk. I gave my phone number. I literally put my phone number on the social media post. And then I continued. I happen to believe that AI is changing everything, including appraisal, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Folks, when I reach out in such a way, I'm being sincere. I think that social media tends to be a bit of a cesspool. It's very, very easy to hide behind your keyboard and feel emboldened to be rude, to be crude, to be ignorant, to state things in a way that you really wouldn't talk that way in person. I can tell you that over the years, I've frequently reached out to individuals who I would call critics and asked them to have a conversation with me. I rarely end up having that conversation. Now, I will say this, Marshall did respond. And I think, I don't know that we came to a reasonable conclusion, but at least he responded. And we had, I think, a somewhat civil back and forth, he and I. But folks, I want to use his comment as a launch pad to talking about this general concern that I see in the appraisal industry with the use of AI. And I'm just going to be so bold and blunt up front to say this comes from a place of ignorance. Now, that is not a criticism of Marshall, okay? The word ignorant has a negative connotation, but I don't actually use it that way. I'm going to use the word ignorant today in the way that the dictionary defines it, okay? Now, I don't have the dictionary in front of me, but last time I checked, it simply means not knowing. And guess what? We are all ignorant of certain things. Okay. I am ignorant of rocket science. I don't know it. I don't study it. I'm not Elon Musk. I don't get into the details like he does. I don't understand any of that. Okay. I'm ignorant when it comes to many things. Ask my wife. I'm ignorant when it comes to a lot of things. I'm joking. She and I have a great relationship, but I am ignorant in understanding women. Okay. I'm ignorant on a lot of things, and that's okay. We're human, folks. There's only certain things that we can concentrate on, certain things we can learn. And I want to shout out to Marshall and other Marshalls out there and say, to be ignorant in this world of AI is actually understandable because it is so new and because it is so scary and because you read the headlines about these things. It's taking over the world, and I get it. And to Marshall's explanation specifically, it's disgusting and shameful to promote and encourage the use of AI in appraising. He's very specific. Okay. Let's just stop and take off the last two words of his comment and see if it changes the context. If Marshall had said it's disgusting and shameful to promote and encourage the use of AI, I don't agree with that comment, but I understand where he's coming from, I think. At least I'm trying to come to an understanding. But when he goes on and says in appraising, it's disgusting and shameful to promote and encourage the use of AI in appraising, I think, again, I think I understand where he's coming from. And the fear is, folks, that AI is going to replace the appraiser, that we're going to trust too much in the machine and not enough in the human element, that, I mean, fill in the blank. All of these fears, I think, are normal, especially with something so new as this, folks. And I'm telling you, every single generation, okay, every single generation in the world had a similar mindset when it came to expansion in technology. Okay, when the railroad was built across the United States, there were people that would say very similar things. It's disgusting and shameful to promote and encourage the use of railroads. When electricity was invented and started changing the world as we know it, people could say it's disgusting and shameful to promote and encourage the use of electricity. It could kill you. And the answer is yes, it could. So where are we at? I, as an appraiser, have been using AI on every report that I do in the last year. I don't think there's been an appraisal report, an appraisal process. I have not done any appraising recently, to state it another way, and not utilized AI on some level. Now, in some reports, it's very, very surface. It might be, help me restate this paragraph. Okay. In others, it might help me with regression analysis. I used it the other day to come up with an adjustment to help me. Let me be careful here. This is the problem, folks. I say I used AI to come up with, and people say, see, you're relying too much on the black box. No, I relied on AI as a tool to help me, the appraiser, determine the accurate adjustment for a river frontage property. Okay. Now I have all of that data that I can download and put in my work file. But folks, this idea, as I've been teaching these workshops, I've traveled the nation. I've taught online. I've taught groups of appraisers in a single office. So I've been hired to come into an office and teach everyone in the office about AI and how to use it. And typically what these workshops do is we start out on a very basic level. We start with, what is AI? We think we know, but what is it truly? And we get into the difference between AI and machine learning, and what is an LLM, and what's an SLM, and what is an agent mode, and what is agentic AI, and what is using the different modes in each of the, and what's the difference between Grok and ChatGPT and Notebook LM, for example. And then we get into the details as to how to use these as a tool, how to use these to help you to become a better appraiser. I want to talk a little bit about that when we get back. And I want to talk to the marshals of the world and help to encourage that you understand what it is that AI is and the enormity of this thing before us and the way that it's going to not just change the world, but it will change appraising. By the way, speaking of changing appraising, I love the idea of using technology to help me to be a better appraiser. And TrueTracks does that for me, folks. It is, and I've used a lot of software out there to help support adjustments, okay? But I have never used anything as powerful as TrueTracks. TrueTracks, folks, is the tool. And you need to check it out by going to truefootage.tech/tools. And when you go to checkout, by the way, if you will use Appraiser Coach, capital A, capital C, no space, Appraiser Coach, you will get 6 full weeks free. It's absolutely amazing. Check them out by going to truefootage.tech/tools. Speaking of great tools, by the way, we have put together a tool that allows you to be able to not just keep track of your orders and make sure that you never have a late appraisal again, but truly keep track of your appraisal world, your business. And it's called True Home Tracker, and it can be found on my website, TheAppraiserCoach.com. Go to products, scroll to the bottom, click on the True Home Tracker, and check out the amazing videos as to what this will do for you and your business. And I'll see you on the other side of that. We're sponsored, of course, today by OREP Insurance. OREP is my E&O of choice. It's the E&O that I've chosen for, 5-6 years now, Because every time I renew, folks, they always give me a better price than anybody else, and they give me better coverage. And the benefits that come are amazing. Folks, you don't think about E&O insurance very often, right? But you should. If you're with any other company, I implore you to check out OREP. They are my E&O of choice. They should be yours. It's OREP, that's OREP .org. All right, folks, we are back. Dustin here is hanging out in the podcast chair. We're talking to the Marshalls of the world. A Marshall who was very curt up front. I tried to have a reasonable discussion with him, and I think we got somewhere. But folks, there's a lot of Marshalls out there. There's a lot of individuals that don't understand what AI is doing to the world. Okay. And folks, I'm telling you that AI is changing the world as we know it. I just want to share with you a couple of quotes that I've used in my workshop recently. Okay. Mark Cuban, very outspoken. By the way, Shark Tank guy, you know who this is, right? Mark Cuban is very outspoken when it comes to AI. He says, if I were 16 to 21 years old, I'd spend every waking hour learning AI. It's your ticket to success. It's that big, folks. He once also said, not learning AI, ? You're this is a family-friendly program, but you're effed, basically. Explore every tool or go back to your IBM PC. Okay. And there's so many other quotes out there, folks. Sam Altman says the number one ability in the AI age is to ask great questions. AI will amplify curious minds. Folks, I don't think that any of us understand how huge the AI revolution is. This is bigger than the internet. Let me repeat that because I am serious and I've heard it over and over from the people that know. This is not just another thing. AI is bigger than the internet. And right now we are about in the 1995, 1996 level of the internet. If you're going to make the comparison, AI is similar today, 2000 or 2025, as the internet was in 1995. Okay. Think of where you were in 1995. To me, that was the first time I ever heard of it. My wife taught me what email was in 1995, and I was blown away. Okay. And now look what has happened to the world with the internet. And this, my friends, will be bigger. Okay. So let's go to Marshall's comment. Okay. His comment again, it's disgusting and shameful to promote and encourage the use of AI in appraising. I'm going to get very bold here. Okay. Because I believe everything I'm about to say to you. If you do not learn AI as an appraiser, I promise you, you will not have a job in 5 years. I promise you that. Okay. You will be unemployed if you do not use AI in your appraisals in 5 years. Why? Because everyone else will be. It is huge, folks. This is going to change the world. And frankly, it's going to make you irrelevant if you're not using it. Period. It's like saying, I want to be an appraiser, but I don't want to use the MLS. Or, by the way, that's from the perspective of a non-disclosure state, which that's the states that I work in. Okay. So if you're in a disclosure state, let's say it this way. I'm going to be an appraiser, but I don't really like looking at sales. Folks, in fact, to me, honestly, that's an understatement. Truly. Do you think I'm excited about this? Now, will I address some issues? For sure. There was a headline recently in June 2025, by the way, and it was an MIT study, and the headline was all over the social media, folks. And the headline was this: Chat GPT makes you dumber. Right? And everybody looked at that and said, see, I knew it. You use AI and you become dumber. You become reliant on this, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Did you actually read the article? Because I did. I read the article. And frankly, folks, shame on the individuals who were promoting that headline because it was clickbait. That's all it was. It was bullcrap. The truth was, over-reliance on anything dulls your brain activity. Okay, it's like these reels that you may have seen, right? When you use ChatGPT for everything, and you watch somebody walk in to a store and say, "Hey, ChatGPT, I just walked into the store, and the clerk looked at me and said, 'Can I help you? What should I do?'" And ChatGPT says, well, maybe you should tell him what kind of help you need. Well, what kind of help do I need? Well, what are you looking for? Toilet paper. Well, maybe you should tell him that you're looking for toilet paper. Okay, I'm looking for toilet paper, right? I mean, it's silly. It's laughable. Okay, nobody relies on it that much. But honestly, the headline from the MIT study, if you actually read the study, right? If you rely too readily upon any tool, certainly it's gonna dull your brain activity. Okay. What's true? Okay. What's true is if you read the article and you actually use ChatGPT and other LLMs as a scaffolding crutch, it actually enhances your ability and your cognitive way of thinking. Okay. When you prompt for explanations, if you use it as strategic partnership, okay, folks, it's often that I drive down the road and I'm literally talking to AI and it's helping me to develop better, not just communication skills, but better ideas that I might come to it and think, say something like, I'm thinking of expanding my business. Okay, great. What are you thinking specifically of doing? Well, I'm thinking about going into this realm. Well, okay, that's interesting. The studies show that if you do that, you're having a conversation with the most powerful coach on any subject. If I wanted to become an expert in rocket science, I probably could in an afternoon talking to maybe not in an afternoon, but you get the point. Anything that you want to learn more about, it will allow you to do that. But it's so much more than that, folks. These workshops that I am teaching, folks, in fact, one of the things that I'm teaching is the responsible use of AI. In fact, it is a huge part of what I teach. Over and over and over again in these workshops, I say, folks, if you are asking a question of ChatGPT and taking that question at face value and copying and pasting it into your report, shame on you. You deserve what you get. That is still your report. That is still your signature. That is still your license on the line. And it is a big deal. If you are trusting AI and not double checking your work, you are going to get yourself in trouble. And I'm sure that's where Marshall's coming from, right? Marshall, God bless your soul, friend. I get it, man. I understand you're concerned about the industry and it's going to hell in a handbasket and AI is taking over the world and it's going to replace you. Folks, I'm going to tell you once again, Marshall, if you do not learn AI, you will be replaced. AI will only replace the appraisers who don't use AI and use it smart and use it responsibly and understand what it is. Folks, if you don't understand something with AI, well, guess what? You should probably ask it additional questions and allow it to teach you. One of the things that I do in the workshops so frequently, in fact, I start the workshop by showing them a fish. It's not a real fish. It's a stuffed fish. And I say, okay, here's a fish. And today I could give you all a fish and you would feel full and you would feel satisfied and you would say, that was the best fish ever. Or, and I hold up a fishing pole, I can teach you how to fish. What would you rather? Now, obviously, the answer is we want to learn how to fish. And so as we go throughout the day, I might get asked a question that I actually know the answer to. But rather than answer them, I say, that's a good question. Let's find out what AI has to say about it. And we'll jump into Grok, or we'll jump into Gemini, or we'll jump into ChatGPT, and we'll ask the question. And sometimes the answer is wrong. And it's fun to watch the entire audience light up and go, oh, see? And I'm like, exactly, but you recognized it. And that's the point. When you can recognize when it's wrong and ask an additional question, say, no, ChatGPT, that's wrong. Or are you sure that's right, ChatGPT? And often they'll come back and say, yeah, you were right to question that. Let's go a little bit further. Folks, I do not use AI as a crutch. And that's the difference. I think that's really where Marshall was coming from. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, Marshall, okay, that you're just ignorant, and that's okay, right? Again, that's a positive word, not a negative word. Okay. By the way, folks, if you're interested in these workshops, we've been doing a few online. You can find them on my website, TheAppraiserCoach.com. Just go to products. You'll find them there. But folks, the idea is this. AI cannot be oversold. I cannot say too much about AI. And I promise you, folks, the idea of learning AI is not disgusting, as Marshall thought it was, and it's not shameful. And it needs to be promoted and encouraged because to do so would be shameful. or to not do so rather, would be shameful and disgusting. In other words, let me repeat it this way, okay? As a coach, my job is to help prepare appraisers for the next whatever is coming. If I were not teaching AI, shame on me, because that is absolutely where the world is going. Thank you for joining me today, folks. And thank you, Marshall. Thank you. Seriously, I would love to have a conversation. In fact, if you would like to come on the podcast, my friend, I invite you to reach out to me. The coach at TheAppraiserCoach.com. I would be thrilled, and I wouldn't edit it. Whatever you want to say, let's talk. Okay. By the way, still opening for Bill Johnson, a Seek the Truth guy. I'd love to have you on the podcast as well. A second time. He's already been on one. He was the 1000th episode. I'd love to have him on again. Thank you for joining me today, folks. And go create some value.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit TheAppraiserCoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.